So hi friends, you have heard about enterprise mobility as a service in the morning session briefly. I'll be talking about it more in detail about the product offerings as well as what is the service offering which we are giving by putting our enterprise mobility on the Amazon cloud. I'm Seema Ghanekar and I'm representing Larsen & Toubro Infotech. Now, Larsen & Toubro is known to all of us as a company which builds nation. You know, we have been involved in multiple infrastructure projects which are very huge in size. There is one project which is going, in fact, right in front of where we are sitting currently. That is the metro project, which is linking our international airport to the busy Bombay city. And the way we are involved in projects which are with such huge magnitude, which are touching all our personal lives in the day-to-day activity, there is another team which is working in Larsen & Toubro Infotech in particular, which is working on the small gadgets which you all people are carrying in your pockets. And these gadgets also are part and parcel of our life. And these gadgets are the mobiles. So let us talk more about these mobiles and particularly about mobility in India. So I've given here a brief overview about what are the current trends. Now, as you have seen, we have in India currently about 866 million subscribers are present, and for a population of about 1.2 billion, this is almost 70% of the population has that is the mobile tele density which we have currently. Now, when you compare this with the world mobile tele density, which is about $5.3 billion subscribers for a $7 billion population, that is also almost 70%. But then what is more important to note is in India, this growth has happened to 70% from a figure of about 50% in only 1 year's time. So there are about 227 million subscribers which have been added in India in the last 1 year. And this is the staggering growth which we are talking about, which is attracting multiple brands to India. And you have not only brands like Nokia's and Motorola's and Samsung's which are present in our country now, but a lot of brands like Carbon, and you have Spice and Fly which are also present, and many of the users are using these mobiles. Now the other trend which you would see is almost 50% of usage of internet is shifting from the mobile. Now, this can be attributed to about, I would say, 1 or 2 parameters. One is the amount of youth population which is using the mobile is definitely on a higher side. So when the popularity in youth for multiple social networking services definitely is amounting to the high usage of internet in the youth population. And another angle I would say is more situational. When people are not steady, when they are mobile, they will of course use mobiles. And that is the situation which we land into, especially in urban cities, where most of our time is spent in traveling. So I'm sure people try to make effective use of their time by either being on calls, or they're trying to listen to music, or they would be making use of the internet with their mobiles. Now, going to the next slide, here we are talking about, though when the mobile devices are becoming popular, there is another trend which is getting noticed, that more and more users are trying to use the smartphones. Now, the amount of innovations which have happened in the mobile space in the last 4 to 5 years is actually trying to glue all our users to the mobile phones. Now, the definition of smartphone, when the word was coined about 4 to 5 years back, I would say, is the phone which can have functionality of voice connectivity. At the same time, it can perform functions which are available on the PDA, which is like contacts, calendar, scheduling. Now, I think in this particular room, most of the people who are having phones in that category, which is called smartphone. But I'm sure the definition of smartphone itself will change over a period. And very soon you might hear that if the phone for all their data-centric applications is using cloud connectivity seamlessly, then only it is called as a smartphone. In fact, you see that for storing the address book, you have options of are you using through, should you be storing it on the SIM, or you should be storing it in the contacts for the phone memory. Very soon, there might be a stage where you will be asked options of where you want to store all your database backup. And there will be multiple options of clouds which might be thrown at you. It might be Amazon or Rackspace or Azure. And I'm sure the default option in such cases might be given for the Amazon as a cloud. So at this stage, let me talk about what is LT Infotech's credibility in the mobility space and why are we here in displaying the solution of enterprise mobility which we are demonstrating outside. Now, we have been working in this space for more than 10 years now. So we have a team of about 800 plus people who are working out of our Bombay, Bangalore and Mysore offices, which have worked on multiple mobile phones. In fact, till date, about 500 plus phone products have been launched where our teams have contributed in some way or other. We work with all the international top brands, which is including Nokia, Samsung, LG, Motorola, and Sony Ericsson. And we also have association with the chipset manufacturers whose chips are embedded into these mobile devices, which is like Qualcomm, Texas Instruments, or Intel. So this vast experience which we have in the mobile space is actually helped us in developing the solution for the enterprise mobility as well. Now, one particular point which I have put over here is the team has expertise on all the popular platforms like iOS or Android. Now, when the developer's world in the desktop environment, I would say is reasonably simple. You have options of Windows or Linux as a base for the environment. But in the mobile world, the options are, there are variety of options which are available. And in fact, the popularity of the platforms also keeps on changing. You have, as of now till date, the popular operating systems I would say is definitely iOS from Apple or Android from Google, and you have the RIM BlackBerry 7.0. And Windows Mobile 8.0 is definitely knocking on the door and trying to get an entry. But then this popularity of platforms and the development at platforms being as a variety of options which are available actually throws a challenge when you want to deploy an application across multiple platforms. So the team has experience on multiple of these platforms, which is from the product engineering services business unit. And in addition to that, we have in Larsen & Toubro other business units like banking or insurance or petrochemical or energy or manufacturing. That team brings in the domain experience, and with that domain experience and the platform experience, we are able to actually deliver right industry solutions to our end customers. Now, as we have seen, because of the growth of mobility in India and the smartphone growth, which is actually helping a lot of users at the personal level to use the mobile more and more effectively, there is also a thought in terms of the enterprises are seeing how can we make use of these mobiles more effectively for increasing their efficiency of enterprises. Because now you have mobiles which are available with, which have bigger displays, you have mobiles which are having faster processing power, and you have mobiles where the data connectivity also with the evolution of 2G, 2.5G, 3G and the 4G soon to come is definitely going to make the mobile as a device where you can access the data also easily. So the businesses are looking at options as to how can I make use of these powerful devices to enable my businesses. Now, one of the factors, like, and of course, the enterprises can try to use this feature more strongly in multiple ways. One of the thing is for the sales people, which are for a particular organization, they might like to aid the sales team by giving in tools which are as part of product catalog tools, from which they can access multiple information about the product on their move, get latest information about the new schemes which have been launched. Once they're discussing with the customer, and if the customer is interested, they can actually place the order for these particular products with the backend system. And they can check the inventories also for that matter and take decisions to give a better customer responsiveness. Now, the other entity which the enterprises would like to mobile enable would be the actual end customers of an organization. And here I would like to take example of maybe a banking or insurance industry, where they would like to help their end customers to get the latest information about maybe their bank account or their insurance policy, and they would like to reach to these end customers with the information in their hand. And that is what will definitely make a difference in terms of building the loyalty of these end customers towards a particular service provider. Now, the third entity which the organizations would look at for mobile enabling is their internal workforce. Now, when we are talking about internal workforce, I'm sure there are multiple systems which are being put in the organization to facilitate the day-to-day processes which are getting executed in a particular organization. But I'm sure we typically get stuck in scenarios where somebody at working level says that I have done all the processing of your request, but you will need to wait because the approval has not yet come and my boss is traveling, so please hold on. Now, that is the excuse which I'm sure we have heard from in multiple instances as part of our day-to-day functioning in a particular enterprise. But if we are able to make this particular workflow system available on the mobile of a traveling senior executive, then I'm sure there is no reason to give an excuse saying that my boss is traveling, so your request is pending for approval. So this internal employees, that is the workforce, and mobile enabling them is also an area which enterprises are definitely looking with lot of interest to see how the mobile devices can benefit their day-to-day usage. So the needs which we have talked about in terms of enterprising wanting to go mobile, and what is the solution which we are offering them to actually fulfill that need. Now, in the morning session, we did hear about this particular offering from Larsen & Toubro Infotech in brief, and there the product was referred as Smart AP. I would like to make a small correction here. We have actually renamed the product and we are launching this particular product. In fact, today for the first time, we have called it as SmartMiles. Now, Miles stands for Mobile Interface for Leveraging Enterprise Systems. So, the SmartMiles, in that, of course, the smart comes because we are developing this particular product for smartphones, and a product which has been developed by smart people to address the smart enterprises. So we have named it as SmartMiles. Now, what are the features which this particular product offers? Now, one is, of course, the business database connectivity for a particular enterprise. In your enterprise, you might be having multiple or a specific backend system which has been already deployed. It might be you are using maybe a SAP system or Oracle, JD Edwards, PeopleSoft, or you might be having some age-old systems like maybe BAN, or you have instances of Primavera which are getting used for your day-to-day tracking of multiple activities in the process. So what we are doing here is we are providing a seamless access for all your multiple backend database systems through our SmartMiles platform and getting the data from these backend systems onto the mobiles. Now, the another angle which comes, and the important feature of this particular product, is the applications which we are developing for this particular using the SmartMiles platform are going to be device independent. Now, when I say this, if you can just think of a scenario where we are talking or discussing about a group of 10 people, and if I ask them, I'm sure that all these 10 people are going to have different mobile phones. Now, when I say different mobile phones, it is not only in terms of the brands which they are using. It is the brand, I'm sure, might be different, but apart from that, the display size is going to be different, the platform which the mobile is operating is going to be different. And in such a scenario, which you can easily correlate with actually an employee base of the organization, if you want to deploy an application and if you want to actually do that application on multiple platforms, it is definitely going to be a chaotic situation. So people are looking for solutions where they can easily deploy applications in a programming language or environment which will run across multiple platforms. So as part of this middleware platform, we are giving that offering, and we will help you to develop applications across multiple platforms. The third angle, of course, is the security, and that is where we have a user management and device management features which are inbuilt in the platform, and we are using secure connections for doing all the transactions from the backend systems to your mobile devices. We also use HTTPS as well as SSL communication. Now, the fourth feature, which is an important feature of the product, is the application distribution. Because after you have developed the applications also, it is important to find out how you are going to distribute the applications. Because you definitely have now with Android Marketplace or Apple App Stores, the options where the applications which are of the liking of the user, you can pull those applications from these stores. But when we are talking about enterprise mobility, we are not interested in pulling the applications. We need to push the applications to the users whom we want to use a specific use case, and the application has been developed for them. So we have developed an application distribution platform. At the same time, if you need to push an application, there should be a provision of removing the application in case a particular user decides to leave the organization. So we are supporting the remote wipe off feature also to enable that particular application and the data associated with that can be removed from the system. Now, knowing the features of the platform and this particular product which we have now deployed and it is getting installed at multiple places, why we felt that we should migrate this particular product to cloud. So I'll give you some reasoning for that. Now, what has happened is in the last 1 year, whenever we have tried to discuss the enterprise mobility as an offering with multiple customers, of course, there has been a lot of interest shown in terms of trying to use it for their enterprises. But at the same time, there are some customers who are definitely skeptical because they are not sure what is the return of investment which they would get by deploying enterprise mobility. They want to maybe start small, they want to deploy maybe 1 or 2 applications at a time, they want to define it for a set of users, they want to see what is the buy-in which they are getting from them, and then maybe they would like to go full blast. Because return of investment calculation for any IT expenditure, I am sure, plays a very important role. But in this particular case of enterprise mobility, since the technology is present, the interest is present, but then what is the kind of investment which enterprises need to go in for, and what is the return of investment which they are getting, there is no easy formula to calculate that. And with that particular stage of early adoption for the enterprise mobility, actually shifting this particular solution on cloud makes a real sense. And so now when we are trying to approach maybe some of the prospects, we are saying that if you want to take up some POCs, find out how the solution works, what is the kind of connectivity and user experience which you will get across multiple devices. Why don't you use the cloud instance, deploy it for a specific set of people, and then you can scale it as you move on. Now, the next thing is, of course, the deployment option is so quick on the cloud, and we have seen in the sessions earlier also that it is actually a matter which can be getting completed in 2 to 3 days time. So there have been in fact cases where we were approaching the deployment for this particular platform. There were situations where they had taken a call for doing on-premise deployment, but because some of the purchase procedures went into a spin, they decided to shift and went into the cloud deployment mode, and through the cloud deployment now the data is accessible for this particular enterprise. Now when we decided to go for cloud, of course the next question was which cloud deployment we are going in for. And I would like to say that of course AWS was a very easy choice, and I'm not talking about the cost option only here. There are multiple other reasons which in fact I have cited here, which are apart from cost, why we decided to choose AWS as a deployment option. Now the first and foremost important thing is AWS doesn't have any preferences for a particular OS or for a particular technology. So the deployment on AWS by choosing the right configuration required for your software is always easy. And the next important thing I would say is the wide industry adoption which AWS is already possessing. And here I would like to take examples of maybe the SAP and Oracle instances or Salesforce which are already deployed on Amazon, or you talk about maybe HP, the load testing solution which they have, or you talk about Adobe solution which is for their flash media streaming server solutions. Now when we want to integrate, and in fact we have a solution which is integrating with the enterprise backend systems, it is very easy to suggest to our end customers that you can actually use the instances of SAP or Oracle which are deployed on the cloud and make use of that to get connectivity to our platform as well, and that helps in reducing the multiple hops which the application could get into, and is definitely going to give you a better speed. The next point which I've talked about is of course the tools which are there for configuration and monitoring which are offered by Amazon, which is Amazon Web Console as well as the Cloud Monitor, are definitely very, very sophisticated, and it was quite an easy task to get the complete product migrated on cloud with the help of these tools. The next important thing is because we are talking about addressing through the SmartMiles the all around the globe multiple enterprises, the availability of instances and zones which Amazon offers was of prime importance, and because they have support currently in North America as well as Europe and Asia, we decided to go in for this because initially definitely we will be looking in for some Asia support through the Amazon cloud. And the next most important thing I would say is the VPC support which is provided by Amazon. Now because our solution needs to interact and exchange data with the enterprises, it has to be a secure connection. And typically we have seen if the deployment has happened on-premise, of course they are sitting on the same intranet. But otherwise you need to have a VPN connection to connect with the backend system and our middleware platform. And this is the flexibility which of course Amazon gives, and that was one of the prime reasons why we decided to go in and chose Amazon for the cloud deployment. Now here I have just explained briefly what was our experience in migrating SmartMiles on AWS. So as the complete platform we have developed is based on open software stack, and we are using the Linux-based OS, and we are using JRE for development, Tomcat Apache and MySQL as the database. It was very easy to get that particular configuration made available and do the necessary changes in terms of parametering and to get the actual versions which are required, and then deploy it on the Amazon cloud. The next thing which we did was, as part of the configuration, we actually had provision for 2 EC2 units, a quad processor as well as a 7.5 gigabyte RAM, and the EBS storage we had chosen for 100 gigabytes. So that was the large instance which we had taken for the first deployment. In subsequent installations for some of the enterprises based on their data segment. We have gone for small and in fact minor instance also in one of the cases. And the secure server connection, here I would like to say that maybe this was a bit trickier portion, and some of the router configurations which were available through Amazon were not, I would say, too many choices were not available. And when we were setting up the connection initially, it did take a bit of a time, and the bandwidth problems also we were facing initially. But then the kind of support which Amazon provided in trying to organize as part of multiple clarifications which were required and the changes which were required to be done was too good, and we could do the complete migration of our product onto the cloud in almost 3 weeks time, and majority of the time in fact went into the VPC connection. Otherwise all the other migration has been quite smooth. Now here I have just represented the architecture of the platform to give you an indication about how we are using the multiple Amazon components. So as you would see, we are using the virtual private cloud for connecting to the backend enterprise systems. We are using EBS as part of the storage manager server storage requirement which is there. The complete architecture makes use of the EC2 architecture for doing the complete caching mechanism as well as the load balancing mechanism. And we have a feature for giving email or SMS alert, and that particular feature we are providing through the simple notification service which is given by Amazon. So these are again screenshots just to depict what kind of configuration has been chosen on Amazon. So we have large and micro instances which are running currently on Amazon, and we have multiple EBS volumes which have been used for persistent storage. So with this in place, we are now able to actually offer enterprise mobility as a service. And we are definitely excited with this offering, and I'm sure this is some offering which is going to be very, very useful for the Indian SMB segment as well. Now, no upfront investment, and start small and go on increasing the scale as and when you require are very, very obvious advantages. Lot of things have been talked about it, so I'll not get into details. But another important factor I would like to highlight is cloud is just not a way of providing the infrastructure which you can use or pay as you use. But it is a philosophy completely in terms of in what way you are offering the service to your end customers. So that philosophy has to flow right from the infrastructure to the software product usage. So in fact, after we deployed our solution on the Amazon platform, we made it a point to add the multiple commercial models to our offering, where we can give a solution which is either you pay per application, or you pay per transaction, or you pay per user. Now this kind of support we were definitely not envisaging, I would say 3 months back, when we were just making it as a product which can be deployed on on-premise solution. But with the cloud deployment, we added these features. So if I have to give you an example, if you have about 1,000 workflows and approvals which you need to carry out in a particular month in an organization, and if you feel 500 of them can be actually transferred through the mobile interface, we can actually suggest you that you can pay for these 500 approvals which you have done in a particular month, and you will need to pay only for that, which is definitely much more efficient for you as a user, as a commercial model. So this is the last slide I have, which actually talks about the kind of applications which you can deploy with enterprise mobility as a service. Now we have called it as tackling the last mile. Now what happens is, in your enterprises as it has grown, I'm sure there are a lot of systems you have put in place to improvise the process. But if you have to go to your office and access the desktop to make use of it, and it is not available at your fingerprints, then it is definitely a bottleneck. And we are trying to solve that problem. We are trying to bridge the gap and get you the data at your fingertips. And that is how we are bridging the last gap. We are helping you to reach to the last mile. And the multiple solutions actually, or applications, which can be built using the SmartMile platforms. We have just given a list of the apps over here. It can be in the form of dashboard applications. It can be in the form of sales or product catalog tools. It can be the mobile interface for the CRM system which you have, the workflow applications, collaborative applications, or a lot of project management applications where a person is required to move on the field and needs to update the data. He can make use for updating for the data from the mobile, and it gets uploaded directly on your enterprise system. So the opportunities and the ideas could be definitely plenty, and we will be able to service those ideas and help you to develop those applications on multiple devices using the SmartMile platforms, which is deployed on Amazon Cloud, and hence it will be definitely very, very cost-effective option for you as well. So with this, I would like to end my presentation. We have a booth outside. I'm sure quite a few people have visited and already seen what are the offerings. If you would like to take a look now also, we have people who are available on the booth, and we can clarify all your doubts related to the deployment. Thank you.